Hi everyone, my name is Julie. Thank you so much for watching. Today we're going to do a purely numbers video. I've got my makeup numbers here. We're going to go through them. I have numbers for the last 5 years. I started doing this in 2016. In January 2016 I started counting everything that I have, and so I'm going to just recap where we've been, what's going on. Because in 2016 I was like in my peak of makeup obsessionness. Like, if you had told me anything about any brand, I could have told you about it. It's kind of crazy the amount of knowledge I stuck in my brain for cosmetics. I knew all the new brands. I knew the new stuff that was coming out. I feel like 2016 was like the peak of YouTube and like makeup, because I'd been following it for probably, 5-6 years. But now it was like I was in it. Like, I jumped in, both feet, ready to go. And so from 2016 I had this climb, and now I'm starting to the descent, I hope. Let's go through these numbers and we'll see how it works out. Let's start with everyone's favorite category, the eyes. So this is something I definitely want to work on in 2021 because I didn't finish anything really this year. I finished 2 singles, but you'll see with my numbers that didn't really make a dent. So for eyes, for single eyeshadows, I had 48 last year. I now have 47. So clearly I've gained one somewhere in the world. I think because I bought those 2 MAC shadows in the holiday kit, so somehow I must have decluttered one as well. In terms of doubles, or like the duo eyeshadows, I had 3. I still have 3. That hasn't changed at all. For trios, I had 4. I'm now at 5. My Miss Lynn calendar had a trio, in which I kept. In terms of quads, I had 5. I now have 7, so that's an increase of 2. And then in terms of eyeshadow palettes, I've also increased in, I call palettes something with 5 shadows or more. I went from 35 to 38, which is crazy because I decluttered 4 of them. So that means I bought a lot of palettes this year. So definitely gonna put a kibosh on buying any more eyeshadow palettes. Like, sorry, not gonna happen. Can't handle it. I already have too many. Like, that's 38 years worth of shadow for me. Shadow sticks, I went from 10 to 7. I used up some Mally sticks when I'm still currently using a couple, so that will be plummeting hopefully quickly. Mascaras, I went from 16 to 13, which is, I'm not as super worried about mascaras. I usually buy like a sampler set this time of year, which is basically what I've got going on right now. I've got a bunch of small size mascaras, so I'll use those up. I usually kind of use like, 10 a year. I'm actually on a full size Better Than Sex right now, which I'm really loving. But so that'll probably take a few months, and then I'll work my way through these other ones. Liquid liners, I went from 6 to 3. I decluttered a lot of those. Loose pigments, I went from 13 to 12. I must have decluttered one of those too, because I definitely didn't use one of those up. Eye primers, I'm still at 4. I'm at the same 4, actually. I didn't use up any eye primers because I was using my stick eyeshadows instead. In terms of pencil liners, I went from 28 to 22. That was mostly from a declutter, which is awesome. And then full face palettes, I went from 4 to 1, which makes me question what happened there. I must have put some things around, because I call a full face, a full face palette that has to have blush, bronzer, highlight, and eyeshadow, and I only can find my Marc Jacobs one right now. I don't know what happened to my other ones. I know the Tarte one I depotted, so that one's gone. That should have brought me down just 1. I don't know what happened to the other ones. I don't know if I decluttered them or not. I don't remember. In terms of brows, my brows haven't changed too much. Like, the way I do them hasn't changed or anything like that. So brow pencils, I've got 2. Brow gels, I've got 2. Other quote-unquote brow, I've got 1 because I've got some like Benefit primer brow stuff. And then false lashes, I have 2. So I basically went from having like 3 brow products to 5 brow products. And that's just because of the Miss Lynn calendar. Like, I got 2 brow products there, and I had a backup of my Wet n Wild, which I liked. So basically it's a Miss Lynn calendar increasing me there, but I'm almost done with one of them, so that should work out. That cuckoo clock is so hard to work around. It keeps going off. In total, for all my makeup, in terms of like eyes, including brows, I went from 183 to 169, so my biggest drop was liners. But it's still a decrease, so I'm happy with that, even though eyeshadows, which take me longer to use up than liners, did not decrease. It's okay. Okay, let's go to face. face powders, all that jazz. So it's kind of confusing because I separate out every different type that I have. So in terms of powders, I have the same number. I went from 15 to 15. For my highlighter palette, I went from 1 to 0. So that's really interesting to me. I'm interested to note which was the highlighter palette that I had. I don't know. I think it might be something from Becca that had like multiple highlights in it, but I don't have anything like that anymore, so I don't know which one that was. I have to like look back and see. Okay, this is the one that surprised me the most. Highlighter singles. I went from 22 to 12. That was a good declutter. That is clearly a good declutter right there. 22 to 12. So I did have duos with a highlighter and bronzer in them, and I got rid of all 3 that I had. I don't know if that was part of the declutter or not. I just don't know where those went. They're just gone. Definitely didn't finish those. My highlighters with blush, I went from 3 to 2. So those are gone. In terms of highlighter and blush duos, you guys know I had 3 and I was working on 2 this year to use up in my project pans, and I did a pretty good job of using them, but I didn't hit pan on any of them. So I still have those 2. I don't know where the third one went, but I went from 3 to 2 there. In terms of blush singles, these have exploded. I went from 40 to 45 blush singles. Whew, that is a lot. I gotta work on that. That's a lot of blush. So that will probably be something that we see more of in the future. Some blush declutters, because 45 is an awful lot of blush to go through. And I think I'm gonna put a lot of blush into my advent calendar because I gotta figure out which ones I like and which ones I don't like. For blush palettes, I count that as 2 or more blushes in a single palette, but it can only be blushes. I had 2, I still have 2. Got a NARS and a Tarte one, and I've got both of those still. Blush and bronzer duos, I went from 2 to 1, and that is because I decluttered my Too Faced, like the heart one that I got. I just got rid of that one. That is like a genuinely bad product. Just not that great. Especially the blush in it, like nothing came off. The bronzer was fine, but it wasn't anything special, and the blush was like pointless. For bronzer singles, I'm glad I did the bronzer declutter because I went from 17 bronzers to 12 bronzers, which is awesome. I'm very excited about that. And then for bronzer palettes, I still have my Too Faced little black book of bronzers, and I did move a highlight into that, but I'm still calling it a bronzer palette because that's what I called it in the past. So I had one, I still have one, but hopefully next year there will be a big old goose egg in that. So with all my decluttering, I went from 108 products for my face to 92. I'm sorry, I forgot some products, so let's go back a little bit. Concealer. I had 2 concealers. I still have 2 concealers, and the same concealers are both cream concealers, which makes me think they're both getting really old. Whoops about that one. That's not great. And then foundations, I went from 5 to 6. I did get like a foundation sampler kit, so that added a lot of foundations to my collection, but they're all really small. So I got rid of some of my big ones. I still have some small ones, and I need to just for foundation again. I know I'd be down at least another 1 or 2 if I was using foundation this year. And then last but certainly not least are primers. I had 8 primers. I am now at 12 primers, so a place I need to work on. And actually, for my primers, I don't have too many mini primers. Most of those are full size. So I definitely have quite a few years of primers in me. All right, let's go lips. You know, lips are my favorite, so this is my biggest category. I started with 285 lip products, and I am now down significantly to 245 products. Now, I do want to have a caveat for this category. I ended up wrapping some of these into my advent calendar before I counted, but I think, so I'm either like plus or minus 5 on that. I kind of think it's anywhere between 245 and 250 that I actually have in my collection, but I physically was able to find 245 lip products. And let's go through the different categories that I've got. So bullet lipsticks, I went from 111 to 104. Liquid lipsticks, I had a big change here. I went from 43 to 26. So that was a really big declutter I did with my liquid lipsticks. The crayon style, which might be my favorite style, I initially had 31 and now I've got 25. Lip oils and lip stains did not change at all. Lip oils, I had 6, I still have 6. And lip stains, I had 1 and I still have 1. They're all the same products. Lip liners also didn't change. That's not a product I use very often, only basically when I'm wearing a red lip, but I had 8, I still have 8, same number. Tinted lip balms. You guys know I use up tinted lip balms a lot. So I had 27, but I also buy a lot of them, so I still have 27. Clear balms, same thing. I basically have 3 at all time on me, like 1 in my purse, 1 in front of the TV, and 1 before I go to bed, so I had 3, I still have 3. Lip glosses, I went from 53 to 44, a nice decrease there. 9 glosses gone. And I'm going to really focus on glosses here this next year, especially when it comes to using up products as my glosses are getting older, because I'm not really like drawn to glosses as much as I am to bullet lipsticks. And then my last lip category is a lip exfoliant, and I went from 1 to 1 because I only need 1. I mean, I don't need as many lipsticks as I have, but I don't find exfoliators super fun to buy. So I just have the e.l.f. one. I always just have the e.l.f. one. In terms of mist, so this is something that I use frequently, and I've actually been working really hard on my Urban Decay one. That one's almost an empty. We'll hopefully see it in my empties next week. We'll see. We're getting kind of down to the wire to the end of the year. If not, it's gonna be a great start. A good one to finish in 2021. But I had primer mist, I had 2, I went down to 1. Hydration mist, I still have the same one from Hard Candy. And then the setting mist, I went from 12 to 14. And I think some of that is because I got 2 lately from working at Ulta, like my Gratis. I've got some in there. So that's, I didn't purchase it, just happened to have it. With nail polish, I did a really good job decluttering through that 100 polish challenge. I went from 203 to 184. Didn't quite reach my goal on that, but I still did a really good job. I got rid of 20 polishes. And I even bought polishes this year, so, you know, it outweighed some. I just gotta focus on actually using some up now that I've got ones that I like. All right, let's jump into fragrance, because in terms of perfume, I was using up a lot of big ones this year, which left a lot of my small ones still around. And some of them got added to as well. So in terms of samples, I went from 12 to 1, and those are just those free ones you get, you know, anytime you want one. Like Sephora or Ulta, they'll send you the free samples. My larger samples, these are ones you buy in those big kits, or maybe you spend 100 points on at Ulta or Sephora, you know, like just, you know, things you might get, but they're bigger than like a 2 sprayer. I went from 11 to 10. So I don't know if maybe I switched some numbers there because they both went down 1, but we'll see. I might have used 1 up, I don't remember. For your roller balls, I went from 13 to 14. For my 1 ounces and my 1.7s, I got rid of 2, so I went from 7 to 5. I definitely know I used up the Ari by Ariana Grande, but I thought my other one I used up was a 2.5 fluid ounce, but maybe it was a 1 ounce. I couldn't find the other one I was looking for. Because my bigger bottles are exactly the same. Anything over the 1.7 fluid ounce, I had 5, I still have 5. And then for oils, I had 6, I still have 6, just fragrance oils that, one I've had since high school. And I should just use it up, but now it's nostalgic for me. But that brings my total from 54 to 51. So I got rid of 3 fragrances in a year, and I think that's pretty good, especially since I know 2 of them were significantly larger products. And those are my numbers. Whoop, 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 whoop. So I think in general I did a really good job. I do see a lot of decreasing. Occasionally in areas I am increasing, like in smaller sections, but in the big subsections I've gone down significantly, especially in terms of like lips, nail polish, and even eyes got a decrease this year. So it's definitely improvement. I still would like to see my numbers a little bit lower, but I think I'm well on the way to where I need to be. I just have a backlog I need to work through. Like in 2016 when I started working at Ulta, I think I tripled my collection. So in one single year, you know, I bought enough for 5 years. So now I'm to the point where 5 years later, I'm starting to go through that backlog and working through it. And my numbers are getting closer to where they were in 2016, which is where I'd like to be. I'd like to be back to that number because I feel like that was an easy move. Like when I moved to Tacoma, that was in 2016. And I feel like that was, I was able to fit everything in a box. I would like everything to fit into a box. Not a tote, like a box. That'd be nice. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Let me know down below which category is your favorite. Are you a lip lover like me? Are you like an eyeshadow junkie? Do you just like eyeshadow palettes? Or maybe you're a blush queen? Like, do you do that draping? That's really pretty. Let me know. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in my next one.